All right, everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Jits-Jargon. I'm resident Blue Belt Sage. This is...
Black Belt Tom Clare.
And we're just going to jump into it. We got a bunch of stuff that's happened over the last month or so. So, number 1, Kasai Pro.
Yes.
Kaynan Duarte, the back take.
Oh, there's a lot of juicy stuff.
Yeah.
All to do with that, yeah.
So, Craig Jones is in for a leg lock, and Kaynan Duarte pulls some black magic and ends up on the back.
So, here's the thing, right? The black magic thing. Like, is it black magic, though? Like, we always talk about, like, one of the jokes that I've always heard black belts say, and I'm not one of them that says this, but I do say it, but I'm not one of the ones that have said it. Like, they'll echo this all the time. Is what's old becomes new again, and they always laugh, right? And they always laugh. And if you think about it, I mean, it's just layers to the onion. I mean, we've had, like, there's been times since pro grappling and jiu-jitsu and MMA have been a thing where leg locks have been relevant before.
Right.
They have always been relevant.
Right.
I mean, we could talk about going back to, like, way back when you have, like, the Shamrocks doing straight ankle locks. And they were, I mean, you look back at them and you would go, you cringe now, and you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, what the hell are they doing?
Right, right.
Like, no one's tapping for that, right? I mean, then you go back to, like, when, Mir hit the toe hold on Tank Abbott, right? Things like that.
Right.
And, hell, when he hit the straight knee bar on Brock Lesnar, even then.
Yes,
Like, what is this thing? But just like everything else, so there's always an answer. It's just, the answer is always the same. So I feel like what happened is, as a guy like myself, who's like really, really into attacking the legs personally, like if you're going into a match and you're going to attack a certain specific limb and you're known for this, right? You know that this dude knows this. Like, especially if it's a super fight. Like, you've been leading up to it, you've been studying tape on each other. Like, we know what we're going to do. We're in there, we know this is going to happen. So, in that situation, how do you train for it? Well, I mean, you do what you can. You got to sharpen your sword. You got to go in. You have to have an answer for every defense he has, right? But at the end of the day, like I always say in class, jokes before jokes, right? And there's like, I don't know where it is, man, but there's this great match that happened. And I thought about this when I saw it. I mean, because this isn't what happened in the actual match itself, but it was a sambo match, and this guy's got this dude in like a heel hook or a knee bar, and he breaks the guy's leg, but the dude just eats it because it's a joint lock. I mean, his tendons are blown out, his joints destroyed, and what does he do? He takes his back and he chokes him out.
Right.
So if that's a real fight, that motherfucker's dead.
Right.
That dude may be limping, but the other guy's fucking dead.
Right.
He's dead.
Yeah.
That fight's over. Right? So how do you beat a good leg locker? You got to take the back. You got to stay on top. You got to keep your legs away. It's pressure in, pressure in. I mean, we see like with the leg pummeling passing like Gordon Ryan's doing. I mean, that's developed from guys that were doing the leg locks, and it's just like because leg locks became relevant, everybody's doing them now. There's always an answer to it. So I feel like what we just saw was an aggressive. I mean, Tex Johnson is a very, 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 very aggressive heavyweight that moves unlike a heavyweight.
Right.
I mean, that's what we see from him.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that. And so when you have, and that's why I'm decently, like, as a heavyweight, when I roll with other heavyweights, I mean, for me, it's not in competition. I mean, I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to that, but like on a level in the gym, like when we're there, when I roll with other heavyweights, like my flexibility, my dexterity is usually what gets me to get where I need to be and allows me to get the advantage. So I can totally relate to what Tex Johnson's strength is as a heavyweight.
Right. Okay.
And I also can relate to the fact that when you go against somebody that's just very well rounded and also is just has been drilling the fact that like when you work with other leg lockers, there's a thing where it's like you work with a leg locker and when you get leg locked, there's so many times that it happens, and every little time, like, you get deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, and then you get to that one point where it's like, once you get past the break point, you understand how to avoid that point where it might hurt, but it's not going to break. It's not
Right.
going to tear. There's
Yeah.
this very, very, very thin line. It's a really weird. It's a weird spot, but it's a thin line where you're there, and you know that your tendons are at the end of it. You know they're gonna snap, and you know how to move. And
Yeah.
if you know how to move, and you could just be a good jiu-jitsu and you could relax, right? You can get yourself out of a really bad spot. Like for example, with outside heel hooks, inside heel hooks, you turn your heel even when the guy's got it in right before they twist, because like it's called, I've heard it called the extra inch.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if people listening know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It's called the extra inch. Like so you're locked in the inside heel hook, and right before that guy starts arching his hips and cranking it, you pop your heel out by turning it the way that they're about to crank.
Right,
and
right.
then you got your foot back in, you got the boot back in, right?
Gotcha,
The
yeah.
extra inch. So knowing that, the only way you're going to get there is by drilling. So now that like leg locks are a thing, you get guys like who are elite jiu-jitsu athletes finally going over these leg locks, and they're just sticking to fundamentals.
Yeah.
So there was no leg lock during the entanglement. He stopped the entanglement, and he very, very intricately unties it and uses him untying the knot to take the back. And once you take the back, I mean, that's the number one place we don't want to be.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to have somebody in our back.
Yeah.
That's the last place we want to be. And again, jokes before jokes.
Jokes before jokes.
Jokes before jokes.
Why do you think people have been sleeping on him? I mean, like I was looking at his record, he's got something ridiculous, like 125 wins or something crazy like that. And like this was kind of the first time that, I mean, like I follow the sport. I'm no black belt in following the sport by any means. I don't see every single match. I don't know every single competitor, but I watch a lot. It was the first time he really popped up on my radar. I thought Craig Jones was going to blow his knee up,
Yeah, no, I mean,
Craig Jones is all over the place.
A lot of people did. I did too. I think it all has to do with just the fact that like it's the sport, right? I mean, how many of these guys do we know outside of like the main dudes? I mean, let's be real. I hate to use this as an example, but I mean, even when we were growing up and they had pro wrestlers, we had our champions, and then we had the roster of the endless list of of wrestlers.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing. I mean, we do have a lot of professional grapplers that are good. We have guys that I mean I know personally that people have never heard of that I roll with, and I'm like, man, these guys are incredible. Like, why doesn't anybody know who they are? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, they've only got a couple of matches in, and it just has to do with who you're rolling with, and what team you're representing, and who you're rolling against. I mean, the sub grappling sport itself is very early, so I feel like this was a pleasant surprise for everybody, like seeing this dude come out and like definitely like just go a whole different way than everybody thought for sure. I think that Craig Jones was definitely the favorite.
Yeah.
And when that happened, it was like, whoa. I mean, but let's be real. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, Duarte's from Atos.
Atos,
right?
yeah.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, they've nothing but incredible athletes and champions have come out of that gym.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think anytime the name Atos is attached to it, we should just expect what we see.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how often do we see opposite?
That's true.
So I was surprised still. Like I was surprised. It's not that I wasn't surprised, but looking back at it, is it surprising? Like, no, this dude's training with the best.
Yeah, he's training with Andre
Training with the
Galvao.
best,
Yeah. And then maybe that's why he's been flying under the radar when you're at the gym with Kaynan before he left.
Well,
Kaynan was there. Andre Galvao was head coach. Like
that's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
Not for nothing, but like I won't say anything, but I mean it's not even like a question. But I mean you could look into there's certain people that have left teams because the teams purposely will only hold them back until somebody reaches a certain level until it's their turn. It's like kind of like that rite of passage.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck who says different. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Like if you have a bunch of good 155ers, but you have the king 155er, that king is going to remain the king 155er, and your other 155er is going to remain in the stable, and then when that one moves on to something else, like a bigger, better sport, or something else, then maybe the next person in line steps up.
Okay.
And maybe that's why certain people, certain big names, up and leave the team for no reason, because they're not getting the attention they deserve.
Right. Okay. I had read some speculation about something along those lines. I didn't really understand it exactly, but that was the gist of it, was that
Yeah.
maybe they were saying that it was Kaynan Duarte's time and he was getting a big push, and Kaynan was saying, I'm not done yet.
Yeah. But but the thing about that though, and this is real, is that a reason to leave your team? Because like now you can look at it as like as an an analyst for the sport, but now if you look at it as a martial artist, is that a reason to leave? No, I don't think it is.
Probably not.
No, I mean I know, and I've left a team, and I got a lot of shit from leaving my old team, and I'm very happy with my professor Luigi Mandelli now, and I love my team. I love American Top Team Connecticut, and I love core Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I will represent them as long as I'm allowed to. Under my professor's will, but like as a competitor, I can understand it. I can understand being like, well, for me, this isn't the right spot because I want to advance. But what I don't understand is the competitor is not what's a dominant driving force for me. A martial artist is what's a driving force for me. Right. So as a martial artist, I don't get it. Yeah. So it's like if you're treated well at your home gym, and you're there has to be some level. There has to, and that's just always how I feel. There has to be some sort of order. Like there just has to be. Yeah. And I mean, if you're, if your coach is telling you to do something, as much as you want to do something else, you have to. I mean, everybody's gonna do their own thing, but for me personally, I look at that. I'm like, okay, if you have to really, I can't. I mean, that has to be a really deep conversation with the athlete, internally. Yeah. They're probably, I can't imagine the struggle that must go on with that. Yeah. I mean, because for me, that would be a huge thing. Yeah, yeah. If I was sitting, I don't even have half of the talent that half of those dudes have that have left and transitioned. Yeah. But, if you were sitting on the end of that and you were looking at it, you knew how good you were, you knew what you could do, and you had that confidence. And you knew that the other guy was getting the best matches and getting the best attention, and you felt that this was your prime, what would you do? Would you go? I mean, especially if you knew you could possibly beat the guy. Yeah. Not saying that this is what the case is, but it's a weird thing, right? Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. I don't know, man. Yeah. It's you have to really ask yourself, what do you want to do? Are you there as a competitor, or are you there as a martial artist? Right, because those are two completely different things. Absolutely. You can blend them together, but a wise man once told me, competition is not a result of loving martial arts. It's a consequence of loving martial arts. It shouldn't be why you love martial arts. Right. It's the consequence of loving it. Right. You have to test yourself. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I feel that, and it's something that's happened in jiu-jitsu actually kind of a lot over the last year with high-profile names leaving gyms because of maybe tensions between teammates and people. I mean, these guys are competing at the highest level. They're very competition oriented. The way that they're thinking. And maybe that's why I'm never gonna be fucking world champion, just because I'm very willing to go, all right, it's cool, it's your time, man, do your thing, and not say no, I'm the guy, it's my time,
Yeah, being a world champion though. I mean, that's another thing, dude. What's a world champion? You get a world championship. Yeah, but does that define you for the rest of your life? Right. Does it define you as a human being? I mean, if you're doing it to define you as a human being, are you really living life the way that we're talking about when we talk about being Bushido and shit like that?
Being a martial artist.
I don't know. I chased that dream for a while too. I still hope one day that I get a nice, I get that win that I'm looking for. But at the end of the day, I mean, I do martial arts because I fucking love to do it. Yeah. Not for that reason. Yeah. And when I lose and I'm like, oh fuck, I go back to the drawing board. I go back to the beat laboratory. I start looking at all my stuff and I'm like, all right, well, how did I lose? Okay. Well, what could we do about that? All right, well, this needs to be improved. That needs to be improved. And you just repeat the process. And then as you repeat the process, that fire starts burning again. Yeah. And then it gets to that fucking point where you're like, all right, it's time to test myself again. Yeah, I mean, as a martial artist, that's what it is. And from what I've felt, that never dies out. Maybe in MMA it died out because, I got tired of getting punched. But, but as far as, everything else goes, like, you know, jiu-jitsu, like, you have to take losses for what they are. Like,
Yeah.
everybody, every great jiu-jitsu I've talked to, or jiu-jitsu has all said the same thing. They've lost a fuck ton more than they've won.
Yeah.
Like, very few people are, like, undefeated.
Yeah.
You know, and those people, you know, those are 1 in a million, you know?
Yeah,
That shit
yeah.
is not a normal
Yeah.
thing. And then the best champions are just people that put in the grind.
Yeah.
Like, they're just there, and they're relevant forever.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting about being, you know, quote unquote, the world champion, you know, whether it be boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, judo, whatever it is you're talking about, and we get this idea of like, yeah, man, the best in the world, just the best to ever do it, you know, but it's really you were the best one competing that night. Is really what it comes down to. You know, you were the best that night.
Yeah, right?
You know?
I mean, to be the world champion, I mean, how many fucking divisions and federations can have world champions?
Right.
I mean, it's not one world championship. We're not in the Olympics.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, I fucking hope one day Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is in the Olympics.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're not in the Olympics. So until we could have somebody saying, hey, at this division, you won gold.
Yeah.
In, like, gi and no gi, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, and I'm a firm believer that if you really want to harness what jiu-jitsu is, I think sub-only is the best. Yeah. The absolute best format.
Yeah,
I think rules-wise, that is.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing, though. I'm going with
Yeah.
Right, but on the end of it, yeah, dude, you can have so many, like, shit, I won Good Fight Worlds at brown belt at 205. There was fucking, like, 3 other people in the division. Like, that's not... It's, you know, like, it's not a world champion. Like, I remember afterwards, it's like somebody was like, hey, man, congrats, world champion. I was like, yeah. And I was like, but not. No, it's a piece of metal. Like, and it's just like, that's what it's a piece of metal. And I learned a lot about, like, my jits game from how I rolled, but it was just a fucking piece of metal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You don't take that shit with you, but like the lessons you learn, you take with you. And people overlook that. But yeah, so world champions, like, what? I mean, you want to strive to be the best. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that, and I dig that. But like, I understand how people just get tired of winning medals too, and want to make some fucking money eventually. Like shit, definitely. And just continuously test themselves. Like it's like I don't know. Like I understand why a lot of these guys are making the transitions over to MMA now again. Yeah. You know, it's like because like when you do everything you can at this level, it's like you have to consistently test. You know. Yeah. Yeah. And after that. MMA is the ultimate test. Yeah, that's the truth. And a lot of people are transitioning now. Yeah.
So back to Kasai. So Tex Johnson hit the heel hook, tapped out Felipe Pena. Felipe Pena had never been tapped out with a leg lock in competition prior to this. Him and Craig Jones were definitely the favorites going into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Felipe Pena, Craig Jones, definitely the favorites. He gets caught in a heel hook. I don't know exactly how it happened, but it was deep. Like, his foot looked like it was turned around backwards when he was cinching up the heel hook and getting the grips in. Did he hold it too long?
I don't think so. So... Did he hold it too long? Did he hold that heel hook too long? Is that his injustice?
We'll get there.
Did he hold the heel hook too long? I don't think he did. I mean, I've watched that finish now a few times, and I see the taps, and I understand it. But I also understand the possibility of him fearing the dreaded, Brazilian tap, right? The as they say, or the ghost tap, the ghost tap. Yeah. Where you're reaching, but it feels a hell of a lot like a tap to the guy applying the choke. So I understand that. So I mean, look, it wasn't like Paul Harris. The ref didn't come over and grab him and tell him to stop, and then he's fucking still ripping it. Yeah. And then pretending like he couldn't speak English afterwards. Yeah. Like, I mean, let's be real. I mean, you don't have to speak English to know that, like, if I'm putting my hands on you and telling you to let go, that means let go, right? Yeah. So, I've been instructed by a a lot of people that, you wait until the ref separates you before you let go.
Yeah.
Because some people do that shit. It's a sport.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in there and this is what we do.
Right.
Is he wrong for that? I personally don't feel he held on to it too long. Okay. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I've been on the other end of it where I've held heel hooks where I've heard things pop and click and everything and nobody taps.
Yeah.
And then we're on top and then we're moving and then the round ends and, the guy wins the match, but then he's like limping around the sidelines.
Right.
So it's like, like if you let go because you hear a pop or you stop attacking because you hear a pop, I mean, they don't tap, the ref didn't say tap. You're going to be in that situation where it's going to be like, oh, hey, well, you're still going. You didn't tap. And you're back. You're right back to where you were. So, I mean, he was following the rules.
Yeah.
He didn't hold it too long. The ref didn't penalize him, or there was no, it seems like the backlash came from, oh, hey, surprise, social media.
Yeah.
So, it's, again,
right.
Let's be real. If it was UFC, maybe, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'd be talking about it, but I still don't think we would, because once the ref comes in and breaks it up, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
The guy could be tapping for days. Once the ref puts his hands on you, that's it.
Yeah.
And
he let go as soon as the ref put his hands on him, right?
I didn't, and I mean, I feel like the taps weren't even like I saw it was a few, right? Mm-hmm. But it was quick succession. Adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah.
He's cranking. He's thinking, "Holy fuck! I got Felipe Pina. He's tapping my head." You got to allow the guy 2 seconds to be like, "Holy shit! Let me live in this moment."
Right.
Let's be real. And I've been in fucking heel hooks that are deep. They suck. They're gonna, things get popped, things get torn. But I don't think I heard that he had ACL reconstruction or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay.
He's going to be an ADCC. Yeah. We're all good.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, so holding the heel hook was not the terrible thing that he did. Tex Johnson.
Oh.
If you don't know, he's gotten into some trouble. Okay, so the competition ends. He goes into rehab. He checks himself into rehab.
Everybody goes, what the fuck? Every single person.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world was like, hey, what the fuck just... Everybody in the world that follows grappling, you just won Kasai, and now you're checking yourself into rehab.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he checks himself into rehab. He says something about...
Alcohol.
What's that?
Alcohol.
Okay,
He blamed alcohol. He said that he's had a problem drinking.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, and I'm going to fucking butcher this, I'm not going to recite it word from word. What I read before the news, I'm using quotations if you can't see, the news broke, was he said that he was going into rehab. He's got to get his mind right. He's had issues with alcohol. And that he was going in, and when he came out, everybody needs to realize that it wasn't a comeback. It was coming back to crown a new king. And it was very triumphant, like he was going in, and he was going to battle this personal demon and come out.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
And then...
Yeah. So then,
then
a couple of days later, I think first we got the announcement from
Unity that they released a student. They didn't mention who it was.
Didn't mention any names. They said something along the lines of a female student approached us and they complained about a violent transgression between herself and another student. We have since kicked that other student out of the academy.
Yes, and they said that the matter was turned over legally. It was being handled by authorities, things like that. Yeah, so everybody right away knew that it was something serious, but I don't think anybody thought it was who it was.
Yeah. So and so then the person, the female student at the academy, she took it upon herself to put the information out there on her own and said Aaron Tex Johnson violently sexually assaulted me.
Yeah, which is, by the way, a terrible fucking idea, people. Not for Aaron. I mean, it's okay to name the person that did this terrible thing to you, but, if you're pressing charges and you're doing anything legally, don't fucking go on social media before the case is even started. I have friends that are in law enforcement and would cringe at that fact just because, we don't... I mean, I get it if it's not being handled locally.
Right. Okay.
Where I'm from, something like that's happening
Yeah.
right now, where a woman is now officially has to go publicly and say that her case wasn't being handled, and that
Right.
makes sense. But
she made
Yep.
a point to mention that the case was being handled. Yeah, so she names Aaron Tex Johnson. She tells everybody what's happened. We learned that it was her and it was Tex Johnson. Tex has been kicked out of Unity. She said something along the lines of there being DNA evidence to support the accusations. And
the post was the original post, understandably, was very emotional.
Yes.
And also very, very graphic. She mentioned something about, let's just call it, she mentioned something about bloody sheets.
Right.
Having bloody sheets that would link him DNA-wise, and that he needed to come clean and admit to everybody he did this. And she actually, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she addressed him personally in the post, too.
Yeah. Yep.
And actually said to him directly, like, Tex, so now this is built on that she was a student of Unity.
Yes. Yeah.
So now this is an internal thing, so this happened inside. Yeah. So it's a whole nother layer of this fucking unpleasant onion that gets exposed. And let me start off by saying I really respect the fact that Unity immediately did what they did.
Yes. Yeah. They handled
I don't
it very
think
well.
that I run a gym, and a lot of shit. You cannot handle what people do inside and outside the gym. I mean, you can't go inside the gym. You can obviously watch what they do, but behind closed doors, when somebody talks to somebody else, relationships can be started in the locker room, right, in the front, and they can leave. So I understand how when it comes to that, you can't control that entire aspect of when people meet up and what happens when they leave.
Right.
So for them to handle that the way they did, that's a huge.
Yeah.
That was a big. It's a big feather in their cap. I like the fact that they handled it that way.
Yeah, they handled it really well. And just the fact that they got right out in front of it, and just he's out of the gym.
Yeah.
So he's not super surprisingly denied all of the claims. And he's found a new hone at. You just told me earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I only read it. I read it through one article. And I honestly can't even cite it, but at least I know that I've seen it, that he was going to be repping Ribeiro Jiu-Jitsu coming up. And this is coming hot off the heels of, I believe, at least, I want to say within the past 48 hours, Globetrotters denied representing him.